I don't wanna see you but you fall apart. Even though you told me to get back your heart, I still spin inside your orbit. Yeah. You say that I should probably start to walk away. I'm hoping that you stop and make me have to stay, 'cause I'm floating in your orbit. Yeah, I'm stuck in your space, just my luck. Push me away, you understand. There's nothing left to say. Pull me back, take my hand, call my name. You understand, I wanna stay. 'Cause I don't wanna walk away. 'Cause I don't wanna walk away. 'Cause I don't wanna walk away. Yeah, I'm stuck in your space. It's my luck. Push me away, you understand. There's nothing left to say. Pull me back, take my hand. I wanna leave. You understand, I wanna stay. 'Cause I don't wanna walk away. I don't wanna see you while you fall apart. Even though you told me to get back your heart, still spinning inside your orbit. I should probably start to walk away. I'm hoping that you stop and make me have to stay, 'cause I'm floating in your orbit. Pull me back, take my hand, call my name. You understand, I wanna stay. 'Cause I don't wanna walk away. Yeah, I'm stuck in your space. That's my luck. Push me away, you understand. There's nothing left to say. Pull me back, take my hand. I wanna leave. You understand, I wanna stay. 'Cause I don't wanna walk away. Pull me back, take my hand, call my name. You understand, I wanna stay. 'Cause I don't wanna walk away. Cause I don't wanna walk away. Cause I don't wanna walk away.
Yeah, I got the juice, yeah, I got the juice. Whip game cool, make them look like cool. Always play cool, that's the biggest rule. Forget what they doing, keep on doing. I've been making loot since like 22. Ask me how I made it right here in the booth. I'm always pursued cause of what I pursue. That's greatness, yeah, I gotta make it, I got things to lose. Boy, wanna get in my crew, but you can't get in my crew. Me, XL, and Hoover, way too fireable. When this joint drop, better call the troops. And when you hear the drop, better raise the roof. Better raise the roof. You already know what happens when we link up. Let's go. Yeah, I got the juice. Yeah, I got the juice. Whip game cool, make them look like cool. Always play cool, that's the biggest rule. Forget what they doing, keep on doing.
Auto malfunction. Go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the D3 eSports Cup Championship. This is the first of its kind. We're excited to feature real race car drivers in a virtual simulated racing experience. I'm your co-host, Carlos Figuerella. I'm an avid techie and a bro gamer, so shout out to all my 2K, Madden, and Forza fans. Alongside with me is my illustrious co-host, a racing legend and the CEO of Dawson Racing, no other than Ian Dawson himself. Ian, I'm excited to be with you as your tag team partner. Thanks for having me.
That's great to be on this with you, Carlos, and use your knowledge. And definitely in a world for me that over my lifetime, as I would never thought we'd be sitting here administering a virtual race.
Absolutely. Well, with COVID happening, real racing has taken a bit of a break. And so we've been able to put this production alongside with our partners Mainline while everyone's working from home and remotely dialing in. So thank you for all of us that have helped put this together. Diving into this, Ian, you've had a chance to travel the world and races all over the world. You're known as an innovator in the racing industry, and now you're connecting the real world and the virtual racing worlds through today's D3 eSports Cup Championship. Tell us more about today's event.
Well, I think for us, it's a milestone. I mean, to bring D3 eSports Cup out in a different way to what we've seen in the last number of months under COVID-19, as we've seen the motorsport gaming world has become absolutely huge. It's kept a lot of professional drivers in the limelight. What we're looking at here is a platform that brings the marketing partners, and especially through STEM education, which we're an avid partner in, to make sure that we can create something that's virtual and allows people to go back to real when this really happens.
We're excited. We've been in discussion about this for some time now, and just seeing everything come together. I'm just happy to be here with you. We're thrilled to have some world-class drivers competing in the D3 eSports Cup Championship. Ian, tell us more about the event rules and some of the scoring that we'll see today.
Yeah, I think first of all, from your point of view, Carlos, to get Mainline on something we started over 2 years ago, well before this happened, and to try and actually bring a platform like this into reality for us has been extremely good. The drivers we've got in this are really, they're ranging from a professional pro down to engineering, down to technicians, people who work in offices are actually game orientated but have never been in this system before. So our whole platform is actually to bring in education, a little bit of fun, and to actually cross over and bring a little bit of a reality through STEM, which is a fantastic platform for technology, but to put some real personalities back into it. So I think the format of this is obviously a non-contact. We hope we're going to keep an eye on that from a technical point of view. The whole idea is to get everybody to learn about the disciplines of driving a car that they can learn in sort of real racing and in virtual. So we're on a non-contact. We're doing a standing start instead of a rolling start. We have a thing called offset set into it. So certainly for the first rounds, if any contacts plays, it doesn't eliminate anybody. We want the people to get through this, and we've got 16 cars on grid. Each pair of cars represents a brand, which is really unique, and I think that's the big message we're getting across.
Awesome. And so this is the first of the next 5 weeks of racing, and so we've got 16 total drivers that will be competing. Just tell us a little bit more about how this has all come together and how you guys have put together this production today.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's been put together by a lot of people. This is not a piggyback on the back of a current formula. We decided to use the Forza 7 platform, which many of the gaming aren't using, because it allows people with not just full simulators. It gives people that just in a living room the ability to get on and use it. So it reaches the families, which is what our whole project's about. And as people will start to see, our partnership with Hasbro and the Transformer brand is all about kids and messaging and how you get through to a much larger audience other than just a racing fan. So that was originally the plan. The plan has actually taken time to put together because of certain restrictions. And of course, ultimately, we have a real race team which links into the virtual platform when that moves forward. So as we move forward over the weeks with different platforms, this one is definitely based on STEM education and partners connected with that type of link. It'll move into other categories as we go forward.
Love it. Yeah. And so, kind of talking really quick about the real world, Dawson Racing races in the IMSA series, which is restarting back later in July. Tell us a little bit more about, how that's kicking off and just what to expect there.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long wait. I mean, it's funny because when you're a race team, a traditional race team, you're desperate to get on track. You've got to get in front of spectators. You've got a lot of things working with it. Our platforms has really been about how we brought the message together as a big group, a community of people. So, here we are now. We've been in this unfortunate situation where, the world's a bit on shutdown. We've still got to be very, very cautious, and certainly here in the US, there's a big surge again in how events like this, and it affects every sport. So we're supposed to be in Sebring in Florida later next month, and we're all watching that. The IMSA series is, like many businesses, had to very carefully monitor this from a safety aspect. And, if we can be there, we'll be there, and we'll launch the Transformer branded LMP3 car, which is a unique program, which we launched to the media actually over 18 months ago. And, we've gradually built on the changes in the world's requirements.
Love it. Before we dive into a little bit more about today, just tell us a little bit more about that unique partnership that you have. I know that there's values and a strong fold between your message, your principles, and the Transformer and the Hasbro partnership. Can you just touch a little bit on that?
Yeah, I think what we needed was a sustainable company, a company that has family values, and it's not something. It's not just a toy company in a sense from a Hasbro point of view. It's a communications business. The Transformer brand, of course, is synonymous worldwide, with the movie business. But you'll start to see as we start to announce the partnerships that we've got with other companies, they're like-minded people. Hasbro is an extremely moral company, which I think is an actual pleasure to work with, and we've generated a very unique partnership with them on not just a branding awareness program, but actually how we develop a platform that changes. And of course, we're all in big global changes now about being very cautious about what we say and how we say it. but actually being able to reach a huge audience with a message that STEM, again, is an absolute global leader in many aspects around the world, and we're trying to bring that connection through some of the products that Hasbro produce and other partners that we have involved.
Definitely, definitely, and as you mentioned, there's a ton of partners involved here. I've had the opportunity of getting to know both you and Simon over the last year and a half, and I will just say, from my own sentiments, just your values, your principles, the way that you guys carry yourselves really speaks in the partnerships that you've gone out to to secure, ensure you're representing your brand and your partnerships in the right light. So, huge shout out to both you and Simon on that note. So jumping into that, just wanted to talk about some of the partners that we've working with. We've partnered with several world-class brands to outfit the cars and bring that real to virtual world experience. Next, I'm going to highlight some of the teams involved in today's tournament and what our audience can expect. So first off, we have the Dawson Racing team that's going to be driving in the red Transformer car. No brainer there. You guys are, that's the one you're putting out, and we're excited to see that car today in the Forza Racing tournament today. From there, we have the STEM Racing team, huge partner with STEM.org. The STEM Racing team is going to be in the yellow STEM Racing car. Next, we have Audrain Racing team that's going to be in the green Audrain car. Our partners are from Vivis, will be in the lime green car. Zotac team will be in the matte black car. I'm a huge fan of Zotac. I'm a gamer, and something about matte black just really stands out to me. So hope to see that team do well. The American team is going to be in the American Bourbon Cask Brown car. We also have the black and gold team representing the black and gold race car. And finally, we have the Dawson Pro-Am Racing team that's going to be in the white Transformer car. As you can see, Transformer brand is getting repped all over in two cars today. So kind of jumping into that, we've got a lot of great sponsorships and partners today being represented. We've got some great racing talent that's going to be racing these cars. And we have 3 races for our audience today. So we'll be jumping in from one race to the next and really excited to see how those turn out. In terms of all of the partners that we've talked about, Stan, anything you want to call out as you've been working with those partners over time?
Yeah, I think what we've got is you've highlighted them. I mean, it's fantastic. We've been able to bring, Transformer, a brand, where they can't go real racing, which would have been one of the first times they'd done that, is to bring those characters out into the real world. I think having STEM with their own car to link with that side of it, and we have Audrain, which has become an extremely good partner out of Northeast USA, which have one of the world's greatest museums. Vives have come in, who are, actually Houston-based company who, are extremely active. Cindy Jim, who's actually one of the drivers in that, has raced with us in the past. We have American bourbon and beverage suppliers with a number of different brands who, again, a business which is perhaps a little bit on hold, like a lot of people, but extremely active in what we're doing. And of course, as you say, having Zotac, which has been one of our technology partners, has been unbelievable. They've given us, from what I've seen, as a slight layman to how we're doing, because Simon and the team on the esports platform have really worked very hard to get this to work. And the nice thing is we've got one of our technicians and one of our data engineers in the Transformer cars, so they're actually be able to hopefully showcase a little bit about what they've been working on over the past few months.
Cool. So we're going to bring it back to some of the rules and the scoring for today. We've kind of given a high level overview, but just dive into some of the details. You mentioned you want to keep this clean, fun, contactless. So just kind of recap that while we bring that up for our audience to see.
Yeah, I mean, again, everybody that signed on to this has, read a reasonably good roundup of how we want to run the program. So it's like many things. You sign on, you accept what you've got to do. We've got to be very careful of any bad wording. We've got to keep this as clean as possible, off track as well as on track. So not a lot's changed there from the old world to the new world. We've got a certain set of rules that we want to work to. For this event, we've actually disabled some of the damage things. So those of you who are not used to that, we want to see everybody be able to compete. Sometimes in the first rounds, everybody's going to get used to working with each other. It's going to be a 15-lap race. We have 3 of them. So as the day moves on, everybody will be getting used to what they're doing. This first event is at Road America in Wisconsin. Classic racetrack, big open circuit, lots of tight corners, long straights. So it'll give everybody a little bit of time to recover. So, as far as the rules are concerned, we're very, very happy that we hope we've set a lot of standard lines out here that, as new people come on board, and we hope they see the value in doing this, they'll be able to read through them and come on and enjoy it.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, you've nailed on this one. It's about bringing together and keeping it family oriented, right? Keeping everybody engaged and involved. So as we look at the race that we're at today, today we're racing at a track that you're familiar with. Tell us a little bit more about Road America and some of your experience there.
Well, again, I think Road America is it's a classic North American track. It's known worldwide. It's very high speed. It's got a lot of elevation change. It's in a wooded area in Wisconsin. Generally, always turns to be great racing. You've got Indy cars there. You've got all types of club racing that run there, and it's been around, I think over 55 years now, and it can be wet there, it can rain, it can be dry. So it produces real classic track racing, good overtaking. You've got to be very confident under your braking areas. A lot of the corners you'll see on there are pretty high speed. Some of them are what we call double apex. So getting through the first part's one thing, getting out the other side is another challenge altogether. And I think you're going to see a balance here between a couple of certainly I'd like to invite Nelson Mason, who's a pro driver out of Canada, who's run with us in the past, and he knows he's got a little bit of competition from a couple other guys, so it's a pleasure to sort of have this sort of mix of people coming into it. But yeah, I think the tracks we've picked for the future are some real driver circuits with great visuals from a spectator value.
Awesome. And so we're getting people ready for the race. So we're starting to get filled up. I'm really excited about this. In your experience, what were some of the kind of race day rituals that you would do prepping up for the race? How would you and your team get ready for a big race like Road to America?
Well, I think like all races, and it's funny enough, I've read a few people, and it was interesting in the Le Mans esports game. A lot of the drivers said they felt more pressure going into the esports than they did the real event. So, discipline, teamwork is very, very important. Like in every business you're involved in, getting everybody together. And I think when you said about this going virtual, we got a big group here working remotely, and everybody's trying to actually communicate together. And I think what we've got to try and see here is that we can actually try and run everything smoothly like you do in a real event. The starting procedure is disciplined. The drivers are aware of what they're doing. Once they're in the cars, it's very much up to their own devices to make things work. They get prompted occasionally. Some drivers like a little bit of banter going on between them, and some don't want to hear anything. So, this is going to be an interesting exercise as we try and monitor what happens.
Love it. Yeah, I think a lot of people see the actual production of what's happening, but never think about behind the scenes or what leads up to getting there. I think that going into it with the right mindset, getting the team to have that winning spirit and mentality is critical. And even when you're virtually racing, right? Getting in the right mindset and making sure that you're prepared is super important.
Absolutely, and I think you see a team structure, and that's really what we're doing here. And I think again, going back to the world we're all in now, it becomes very individual. And what we're trying to do here through STEM, and I know it's a big thing that they do, it's actually getting everybody to work as a group together and work as a team. And ultimately, once we allowed to get a little bit offline here and we can all get back together, we're hoping that what we're developing here is the ability for people to come and get involved and actually get involved in a real team. And we're seeing that in a number of STEM organizations going on around the world, where there's some real hands-on experience being delivered as well as just technical online tutoring.
Yeah. Perfect. And so kind of bringing it back to, we're all from home. Obviously, COVID has impacted not only the world, but the sports world. How are you hearing some of the drivers and people in the racing industry? How are they dealing with all of this? How are they keeping, what we would call game ready? Is there anything that any advice you've been giving to those out there that have been idle?
Well, I think like everything, as we've seen, the gamer needs to be extremely alert, much like the real driver. And if they're not alert, they're going to be slow. So they have to be really in tune. They're often practicing a lot, though, and I think in many cases the gamer has more time to practice than the real driver. Because they can jump on them many times.
Yeah, and I'm sure they probably invested in some sweet rigs while they're at home trying to get that real simulation, right? Trying to get prepared and ready for it.
Absolutely, and as I said,
looking at everything, looks like our teams are getting ready, and so we'll be kicking off our race here shortly. Just bringing it back to some of the history that you've been on some, you're world renowned. You've been on some really cool teams. What are some of the things that just over the years have really prepared you for bringing your own team to race?
I think ultimately by bringing our own team, you've got a vast amount of experiences and things you've learned from many people. And I can only say that I think that's something everybody ought to take home. You learn all the time. I'm learning. Look at the learning curve I've gone on in the last few months with this, and it's fascinating. I think we can use these tools, and we've got to, us that have been in this for many years can transfer that knowledge back to in our case, to our staff, and hopefully build a really good, solid group of people for the future.
Love it. I think just being with you over the last month, we've gotten to really talk and chat some more, and I've learned a lot from you. I've always been a fan of racing, but just hearing your perspective, hearing how you've mastered your craft has only made me want to elevate my game across other pieces. So huge shout out to you. You've just hearing the nuggets that you've dropped, giving me that those life lessons along the way have been very helpful. Great.
That's great,
So,
and I appreciate that. Thanks.
No. I never be able to thank you enough. So going into this, wanted to give a shout out to our partner at STEM.org. STEM.org is presenting sponsor for the D3eSports Cup Virtual Championship. They're the longest continually operating, privately held STEM education research and credentialing organization in America since 2001, supporting the world's top brands, organizations, and thousands of educators globally. Shout out to STEM.org for not only being a valuable partner, but making an impact in the education industry. We're excited to see that STEM.org car out there. And as I've said, we've got our drivers are getting ready. We've got things in motion, and hopefully can't wait to kick off this first race, one of three. So for those out there, make sure you catch all three of our races today. And after the races, we're actually going to have a special guest on as we kick off Pit Talk to recap everything and have another very important piece of what's being brought today on the show. With that said, looking at the teams today, anything stand out? Any racers that you're excited to see race on first race?
Yeah, I think to look at across wrestling, as I said, we haven't like traditional games just picked out, and I think a lot of people picked out that normally would not even get a chance to get in a race up against a professional. So I'm well aware of to say we got a couple of sleepers in this system at the moment. Ben, our data guy, Carlo, one of our technicians, are pretty handy guys. Sydney's extremely quick in a real car, and I
Okay.
think that the benchmark, and we won't put Nelson under a bit of pressure here. That he's proved in his life to be a real competitive, real-time racer and also a real top gamer. So, and then we've got a couple of guys that have come in who've wanted the opportunity to do this, and it'll be interesting to see how this pans out in the three events we've got.
Love it. Well, we're excited for our first race. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with our first race. So stay tuned, and can't wait to see our first race kick off. Right. And we're back. Ian, I don't know about you, but I'm excited about this first race. It's been a long way getting here, and it looks like our drivers are ready. So uh, hopefully I can stay in this chair because I'm pumped.
It's actually it's amazing. If you ask me about it in the real world, it's a little bit like standing on a pit wall waiting for the cars to come round. So actually, it is very real, and I think it attributes the amount of work everybody goes into this virtual platform.
Absolutely. We definitely have we got some exciting drivers. We got some exciting racing coming up. So like I said, I'm not picking favorites right now. I'm going on I put my money on black. Right, that's usually my call in Vegas. But we'll see. Right.
Yeah, well, they're obviously a favourite for you, and everybody always has to root for somebody. And I think as this develops and we start to see partners expand into it, everybody starts to have their own winner and their own favourite person, and everybody's looking for results. I think that's it. Everybody comes a winner if they can finish. If people talk to me about Le Mans 24 hours or Daytona 24 hours, just participating and finishing is a huge win for everybody. And I think at
Absolutely.
the beginning of everything, let's treat this like a new team, and it's starting and it's fresh, and its ability for everybody out there is to get across the line after 15 laps.
Yeah, I can only imagine. The adrenaline rush racing 24 hours would be. That's that's intense.
It is. Funnily enough, I think 15 minutes can be a bit more intense sometimes than 24 hours because you cram it all into one small gap. So, I think anything you do in any sport, which is why sport's such a great thing, is that, it really focuses people's attention. And it's something that, sometimes missing, I think, in the world today.
Awesome. Yeah. So our drivers are getting ready. We've got like I said, we've got the Dawson Racing team that's going to be in the red Transformer car. We've got the STEM racing car in the yellow. The Audrain racing car is going to be in the green Audrain car. Vivis is going to be in the lime green car. Shout out to Vivis. As I mentioned, Zotac will be in the matte black. American Bourbon will be in the cask brown car. The black and gold team is going to be repping the black and gold car. Shout out to any Pittsburgh Steeler fans or anybody that likes that black and gold. And then last, we have the Dawson Pro-Am racing team that's going to be in the white Transformer car. So these guys are in their sims. They're getting ready to roll these cars out. And everybody's got here we go. We've got this rolling.
No, this is good. I mean, it's
Awesome. So we're live now.
I think, yeah, we're live, which is great. So I think what we're seeing here is, it looks like, the D3 white Transformer car. Nelson Mason is out front. the start looked a little bit clustered, but we can see on track here we've got a lot of guys very close together, so they'll all find their own positions. And I think that's the interesting thing from this. The first part of it is we're going to remember some of these people have never done this, and I think that's the fantastic opportunity. And so we'll watch them. We'll see how they get on.
Definitely. And so, in the track and what's happening. What's one of the these turns? How fast are they going?
Well, a lot of these turns, these cars are traveling through here. They would be going through here in real terms, something, up to 100 miles an hour.
Wow.
This track, your top speed is around 175 miles per hour. Interesting to see that we've got some information coming through here on the technical side. We've had probably a couple of cars where the simulators have had some mechanical issues. So you get that in virtual racing as well as real racing. So I think that's affected the performance of a couple of guys. Things are settling down. And as I said earlier, this is a big, wide track. And I think anybody who can see it, there's a lot of open space here. So the cars will get pretty strung out. Everybody will learn from this first 15 laps. And it'll be interesting to get the comments after it.
Love it. Yeah, lots of turns. So getting up to max speed has got to be a challenge just because we've got somebody going a little off-road on us.
Yeah, we've got that, and we're seeing the stem car here, the yellow car. It's vibrant color, which is great. You're coming up the pit straight here in this car, and you're starting to see there's positioning. The cars are well spaced, but everybody seems to have got themselves now settled into a. Having said that, we see the stem car just lock up the brakes a little bit, which is, I think is one great thing here. This simulation's pretty real, and you've got people finding out the levels. They haven't had a massive amount of practice time, so I think as they sort of find their feet and really get into this, you're going to get some really good competition.
Yeah, we've seen a few come in hot around the turn. So
I think some people have got to remember that the simulators know if the tires are cold. For instance, a racing tire requires 3 or 4 laps to get up to temperature. It's a bit like driving on a wet road if you haven't got them up completely. So again, this is where this learning curve for some of the guys driving the cars have got to get their heads around. We always said to everybody coming in here, don't worry about how you go, just enjoy the journey, and then revisit it afterwards. So as you see, a couple of them are getting a little bit loose. They're getting offline a little bit, but the 2 or 3 guys at the front are really doing a good job. They're slightly spaced out, which we saw that the start was very good for a couple of cars, and a couple of them got tied up. So let's see how this settles down.
I had someone once tell me, drive fast, take chances. These guys are clearly doing that right now.
Yeah, I think it's interesting watching this one stem car. It's he's having a few lockups, and that will pay price to him on his tires later on in the event. So we're now up to speed here. I think we're seeing the cars 1 and 2 now very close to each other, which is good. I think as a pair, these two are probably the most experienced. So we've got a pro driver in a white car, and we've got actually Ben, our Ashley Dawson Racing data engineer. He's a pretty hot gamer as well. So I think that's is what the pattern we're going to see and what we've seen in many other esports gaming.
Absolutely, we're on lap 3 now, and so we can see that they've kept the lead going into these 3 laps. But a little bit of shifting between the middle of the pack here. Hopefully, we can see some good competition.
Yeah, and I think again, if you're looking at the track map, you're seeing, the cars 3, 4, 5, and 6 are pretty strung out. They're, they've been learning how they manage this, and I think that's what this is about. This is about a learning platform. It's a platform to give everybody an opportunity to develop, which often doesn't happen in many businesses. And I think as we develop this whole program, it'll be a really good, interesting learning curve for people to follow. And I think hopefully people who are perhaps watching and aren't driving a car, and a company that could see value in coming in, that this is great. This is great. You have to learn. How do you let non-swimmers in the swimming pool? You've got to get in and learn, and that's what this D3 Esports Cup's all about.
Absolutely. Yeah, and as you said, it's not only about you know uh, going as fast as possible. You have to manage every aspect of the race. What are some of those things that going into this type of race you have to monitor and measure?
Well, again, as I said earlier, I mean, a lot of this is tire management. You can overdrive the car, you can brake and lock tires up, and you see the tire smoke come off them. That does hurt you, the following lap while the tire cleans up. Um, you know, Running offline isn't great. You've got to really be very confident to keep off the edges of the track, because that makes the tires dirty. So being clean, consistent, repeatability, these are all the traits of being a professional driver. Making sure that you've got as much as you can working to make sure that you stay on track and you stay consistent.
So yeah, we kicked off the race, and obviously that's going on. Really excited to see how this first race wraps up. Yeah, so we're getting some info on a restart, and we'll be updating here in just a second. Cool.
Okay. Yeah, I can do
So
that. I think that's good.
so Ian, you want to
Yeah.
give us a quick update?
Yeah. No, I think thanks, Carlos. Yeah, so the first few laps there, what we decided to do here, it's everybody had to find the feet here. So we're going to do a restart, a refresh here, and get everybody bunched up. A couple of cars that had some technical issues, so hopefully we've got one or two of those resolved. We'll recommence now, and this is exactly the same. Let's treat this as a yellow coming out in a race, and gets everybody a chance to get back together again. So we're going to put some real rules into this, and let's restart and see how everybody gets on and what everybody's learned from it. That's
Definitely,
cool.
yeah.
So
Our drivers getting ready, for the restart. We got a lot of things kind of happening on the back end, but I'm excited for this. This is everybody's back on a clean slate here.
absolutely, and I said what we're doing here is it's a slightly different way of looking at this, and as an esports platform. So we've got to cultivate this new group, and I think this is really good. So as I said, in the real world, if you had some incidents on track like we've seen, they hang a yellow flag out, so everybody regroups, and that's exactly what we've sort of treated it as here. There'll be a few of the guys in the mid pack there have learned very quickly. The learning curve here is pretty severe, especially the fact that they're being watched live. A lot of people have never experienced that. So, know where you can hide from it. So, let's see how the restart goes here and see if we can get that mid group bunched up together.
Love it. Yeah, this is in terms of the esports side, this is the beautiful thing is that we get to reset. No cars hurt. Everybody's safe, and it's like we're restarting all over again.
Yeah, no, exactly that, really, Carlos. So I think the ability to actually bring people together and actually do this, is set with its challenges for sure. But we got to make sure that this is an education program. Remember, this is STEM education. So it's not just about who's the quickest person. It's how we we retest the exam. Let's say a couple of people got the first page a bit wrong, so before we turn to the second page, they're going to have another go at getting it right. So a little bit like in real life, if you don't get it the first time, you'll get it the second. So yeah, I think we're pretty close now to bringing this back on live. So yeah, look forward to it.
Awesome. And so, talking about some of our drivers that are on today, we've got people from all over. Uh, any areas of the country or the world that stand out? Where are our drivers at?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got our pro guy on a pro-am car, Nelson Mason. He's from Canada, from Toronto. He's raced worldwide in single-seat, open-wheel cars, closed cars. He's tested with us. He's a very articulate driver. He's also an extremely competent gamer, and he's a coach online. If we jump down to, say, Sydney, Jim, he's in the Cybers car. He's raced and he's an extremely good guy in many sports, extremely competitive, runs a business, often doesn't have a lot of time to do this. So I expect he'll develop as he moves on. We've got the guys from Audrain who are basically gamers. They've been exposed to our gaming platform, in the Audrain program, and this is a little bit new to them. We got Ben Wedstone, who's our data guy, who's running pretty close. He's been a gamer for a number of years, and he has the advantage often of being able to put the technical side into it. Pablo Gonzalez is one of our technicians in one car. Same thing, an opportunity to come from doing it at home to actually being under a little bit of pressure and driving a car on a game that he actually works on. So I think that's pretty good. We've got I think we've got a couple of people coming from Italy, and we've got a couple of people coming from overseas looking at this. The guys are in the American car. Again, completely new to them. It's a new experience. Nobody would have normally given them the shot to do this, and that's what we've tried to do. They're representing their brand, so I think that's a bit of a unique possibility. And I think the guys out of Zotac, I think one of the owner's sons is in here. Again, he's taken on the gauntlet from that, which is great, because here's a technology that is really becoming a leader in its field.
Love it. Yeah. People from all walks of life, from every corner of the world, coming in on this platform to the D3 eSports Cup Championship Series. And, we're making this happen. So really, really cool. And just talking through as our guys are getting ready for, kind of getting geared up, talking about the STEM car a little bit. Talk about how this is a learning opportunity, and it's really that, giving everybody the opportunity to learn. How do you see this evolving with racers? Do you see more racers starting off in simulations and then eventually working their way to a real race car?
Yeah, I mean, I do 100%. I mean, if I went back 15 years, ago, and you mentioned to a driver about, have you ever tried a simulator? They go, hey, I just need to drive the real car. I have to test. I think today, the first thing you're asked as a team owner is, what simulation program have you got? So the whole thing's gone 180 degrees. I mean, we've got actually a lad from Scotland in the sim car now. I mean, he is, in that whole science, technology, engineering, and math sector. The whole idea is to try and bring people like him, and it's male or female. We're seeing a tremendous amount of young girls now coming into STEM and learning. I mean, there's an opportunity going on in California, which I've seen, where there's some young girls building a small go-kart. They're learning how to weld, they're learning how to assemble, they're getting skills with their hands, which is a big thing I see now today missing. Everybody is very tech literate, but if you ask them to actually put a bolt and a nut together, they haven't got a clue how to do it. And that's not a detrimental comment. It's just it's a little bit of a failure in the system, and I think this is why STEM is growing worldwide. It's allowing that to happen. So I think this is something that really interests us. So as this develops and the world opens up again, we're hoping we can bring through STEM people into the real world. They can visit MSR track where we're based here in southern Houston, and they can actually experience the involvement of how a data package works on a car, how a car goes together, and ultimately how they can see how real driving is on a racetrack, and they can transfer that into the real world of driving a real car safely on the road.
No, I agree. I mean, even being around you and your facility, going down to Houston, and seeing all of the things in action, right? Learning about what it takes to get the car, ready, what it takes the car to get it on the track, and then working with some of the guys that you've mentioned that actually help monitor and keep the car running while on the track. It really takes a team and unique skill sets where everyone has to be competent in one or many things to help it bring it all together.
No, and I'm a huge believer in that. I mean, you went through a cycle in life from the beginning where if you didn't know a lot about a lot of things, you probably wouldn't get a spot in a business. Then you went through a world of, well, you know too much. So everybody got packaged and put in little boxes, and they had to deal with the next person. I think what we're seeing today is that you've got to have people who are more versatile, who understand, and respect is a big thing. Respect what the other person does. And a racing team, like many things, it says team over the door. It doesn't say individual. And in what you do in your things, Carlos, that you can't operate what you're doing on your own. You rely on a lot of people's knowledge. And I think that is the thing that we've got to get across today. And that's where the beauty of these chat rooms are going to happen here. It's not just about people jumping on, watching a 20-minute race and going away again, and, well, let's all get back on board. Let's hope we can develop out of this growing group that people learn everything. The marketing element of this, I mean, just to speak, Barbara Burns, who does our marketing, I mean, her group, are mentoring young people. They're very articulate in how they get that message across. People said today that we look at Hasbro and people think it's a toy brand. It's much more than a toy brand. It's a communications company, and it's getting messages across. And as we've seen, the messaging world today, without getting into the politics side of it, is extremely important. It's an influencer. So this type of thing, whether you're in car racing or you're in, NFL, or you're in a lot of other things, there's a lot of people watching this, and they're trying to learn about how they can be better people in this platform. And so as we focused on STEM in this particular one, this is growing, and it really has to connect in real time to how the individual can take this forward and be a better person from it.
No, 100% agree. I think learning your philosophy, your background, truer words have never been spoken. You started off as an engineer, got a racing apprentice, and from there it's blossomed into this amazing career. But not only that, the ability to empower others through the platform that you're creating right now. So it just speaks volumes to the things that you guys are doing. And as you said, the partners that you're aligning with to ensure that message gets replicated and echoes amongst all of the activities that you're doing. Really cool.
I think what it is. It's still an engineering apprenticeship. I'm still in it, so that's great. And I have to say, if we go back to families, it's great that Simon, my son, is virtually his baby. Let's say, has been the esports platform, and my wife Joanne, who's been drive me nuts because we managed to keep my son originally away from it and became a tennis player. Here we are back in real world in motorsport, and my grandson Dylan is operating a little bit of discord on the other end of this as well. And I think what we're seeing as a family is something that I think is fantastic that we can actually start to develop.
Love it. Yeah, no, and I bet as you're seeing that transfer of knowledge from you to Simon, and then now to Simon's son, I think that where he takes it to the next level is sky's the limit, right? I'm sure he's watching right now, just in awe and thankful for all that you've done and setting this up as as something that he can carry on in Dawson Racing. So kind of checking in on our racers. Looks like we're gonna be taking off here shortly. We've got the racers ready to go and should be kicking off here. So this is kicking things back off. We're excited. I'm eager to see them guys get out there.
Yeah, it'll be good. Just see, what that severe learning curve was for a few of them.